In Avowed, you step into a world on the brink, where loyalties are tested, alliances are fragile, and power is a dangerous game. But through the chaos, one figure stands firm: the Envoy, your player character. They don't waver, they don't second guess, and that's what makes them so compelling, not just as a character, but as a leader. Today, we're diving into how Avowed teaches us about conviction and leadership, and why having clarity and purpose is the difference between being lost in the tide or shaping the world around you. I went into Avowed expecting a pretty straightforward RPG, and that's what I got. But what I found in the story and the way the dialogue choices work is something just a little bit deeper. A game that not only lets you swing swords and cast spells, but also asks you to make decisions grounded in personal conviction. Avowed is Obsidian's latest RPG, and it's set in the Living Lands, an untamed island in the world of Aora from the Pillars of Eternity universe. This region has been afflicted by a mysterious condition known as the Dreamscourge, which transforms those affected into violent, zombie-like creatures driven only by instinct, driven only by the desire to protect the land from anything and everything it considers a threat, and anything and everything is a threat. You play as a member of the Adiran Empire and a godlike, an individual uniquely blessed by one of Aora's many gods. And your mission ultimately is to investigate the Dreamscourge on the Emperor's behalf. But upon arrival, you're faced with a world that's filled with ancient magic, warring factions, and political intrigue. A lot more than I honestly expected when I began the game. Right away, after the tutorial section, you're introduced to your first companion, Kai, who serves as a guide into the harsh reality of the Living Lands. This island is full of uncertainty. It's beautiful, yes, but incredibly dangerous. And Kai does something interesting. He acknowledges the uniqueness of the Envoy's conviction. He says this:
Not you, though. You didn't hesitate. Your kind of clarity is rare. To know in the moment what you've got to do and do it, I envy that.
Kai's words aren't just exposition. They're a direct insight into how the game portrays leadership. The Envoy, no matter what decision he does make, doesn't hesitate. They don't second guess. And I think that that's what makes them such an interesting force in this world. The game allows you to roleplay as a character with absolute clarity. You can respond to nearly every situation with the same conviction. I am here to stop the Dreamscourge. That's my mission. As the game progresses, it becomes clear that holding on to that purpose is honestly what makes you stand out as a leader. Now, how you actually do choose to deal with the Dreamscourge gives you player choice and player agency, but that's up to you. You can side with all sorts of different factions who have pros and cons to each of them. As you continue through the story, you find out what some of this ancient magic is coming from and the connection to modern day scenarios and what's going on. You learn a lot more about the warring factions between the different gods of Aora. And it's very fascinating. As my first time in the Pillars of Eternity universe, I honestly want to learn more. I want more games in this universe, and it's kind of given me a little bit of a desire to go and try some of the Pillars of Eternity games. But what does this actually mean in the context of leadership? It's more than just making decisions. It's making decisions that align with a guiding purpose. It's about knowing why you're doing something and sticking with it even when the path gets rough. In life, uncertainty is inevitable, but the leaders who make an impact aren't the ones who always have the answers. They're the ones who stand firm in their values even when the world tries to shake them. And Avowed gives you plenty of moments where the world tries to do just that. If the Envoy is defined by clarity of purpose, then Avowed also shows us just how high the cost of lacking purpose is. When you arrive in the second major area, Fior, the story takes a complicated turn. Fior has grown into a scholarly haven for animancers, researchers who study souls and attempt to harness their power for healing and knowledge and growth. But it's also a place gripped by fear, denial, and outright arrogance. Governor Vidaro, the leader of Fior, denies the existence of the Dreamscourge, dismissing it as nothing but hysteria. Meanwhile, you have animancers like Giada, one of the characters you get on your team, desperate to prove its existence before the town's fate is sealed by their leader's stubbornness. Fior's leadership is fractured. The governor refuses to face reality, and the animancers struggle to be heard, tear apart the town. And when the leaders waver, when they refuse to acknowledge the truth or try to please everyone instead of making hard decisions, people suffer. By this point in the game, I had truly grown to enjoy the combat, the flashy spells, the gorgeous scenery, and the compelling world and story driving me forward to figure out how I'm going to deal with the Dreamscourge. Good leaders don't wait on perfect conditions, though. They make decisions with conviction, even when those decisions are risky. The Envoy's clarity of purpose is the only thing keeping Fior from collapsing into complete ruin. And in many ways, it's the ability to stay true to a mission that separates great leaders from those who just react to the chaos around them. You really need to listen in this game to story beats and story cues, because surprisingly enough, you can make major impact on the story by making a decision to go explore something and check something out that you heard about, instead of just following the quests and the quest givers back and forth. You should do that, follow all the quests, but when you hear something and it says something, it doesn't give you a marker, it's good to explore it. My wife and I both played Avowed, and we had entirely different experiences in some of the sections of the game based upon what we heard and decided to do that wasn't necessarily spelled out for us, which I think is a big plus for the game. There's a verse from Proverbs 4:25 through 27 that says this: "Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths of your feet, and be steadfast in all of your ways." One thing I really appreciate about Avowed is how it lets you define your sense of purpose. The game doesn't force you into a single mold. You get to decide what kind of leader you want to be, and that freedom is what makes the experience feel personal and meaningful. The deeper you go into Avowed, the more clarity of purpose becomes essential. Whether you're exploring the ruins of Naku Tadek, investigating Fior's ruins, or choosing alliances, the game constantly tests your resolve. But it's not just about making choices. Really, it's about making choices with purpose. The game emphasizes that even when you have to adapt, you never lose sight of your mission. So how do we apply that to our own lives today? I think the first thing is that we need to know our core values. Define what drives you. What's your mission? What is your unshakable beliefs? You also need to stand by your decisions. Don't fear the opposition. Learn to stand firm in what you believe, even when others try to shake you. And then adapt without losing purpose. Flexibility is key, but only when it serves your greater mission. Adjusting your approach when necessary, but never compromise your core values. Leadership isn't about knowing everything, it's about knowing yourself and having the courage to act accordingly. In the end, Avowed isn't just a game about magic and power, it's about knowing where you stand in a world that constantly tries to shake you. And that's a lesson we can all take with us. Overall, if you want my review thoughts, I did find Avowed to be a pretty compelling experience, especially when it comes to the combat, the gameplay. The world is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. It's not perfect, but it challenges you to stay true to your purpose, and it makes it worth the journey. I'm excited to see how the story evolves from here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.